Thank you so much, John. You know, that song is perfect for
Mm,
today. And thank you, Betty, for that beautiful reading,
mhm.
for getting things kicked off here. So, good morning and
Morning.
welcome to San Francisco Center for Spiritual Living's joyful celebration of spirit, where all are welcome, accepted, and loved. And welcome all of our Facebook people. So excited that you're here with us. I might not be able to interact with you as much right now because I am on tech and talk, but I know you're there. I've seen some of you, and I'm so excited that you're with us today. Thank you so much. My name is Reverend Lisa Hamilton, and I'm here with you this morning as we consider our monthly theme, Stepping into the Unknown. And today's talk title is Stepping Out and Stepping Up, or Stepping Out, comma, Stepping Up, actually. So this is so much fun because this morning we are wrapping up this powerful theme and the month with a discussion about the unknown, the creative process, the opportunity to co-create the life of our dreams by the use of spiritual practices like meditation, affirmation, visioning, and prayer, and then stepping fearlessly into action with all of that. And what a perfect time for this, since many of us right now are in transition. The pandemic has changed the way that we do business. So many people lost jobs, and some of us are having to completely reinvent ourselves in this world. And so many people have lost their lives. We are praying right now for our brothers, our sisters, our siblings in India and around the world right now as they are experiencing massive challenges in getting equipment, resources, vaccines, and support as they work towards flattening the curve over there. And we will continue to keep them in our prayers. We are also continuing in our global awakening to racism in the United States and throughout the world, and the destruction of beliefs based on the history that we were taught, the undeniable revelation of the way systems were set up on a foundation of white supremacy, the greed, how those systems were intentionally created to oppress, enslave, terrorize, and even murder people based on the color of their skin. We are witnessing the destruction of all of that. As metaphysicians, as religious scientists, as practitioners of what we teach at Centers for Spiritual Living, we use spiritual principle to keep us anchored in the truth during the calm times and during the storms. And we are in a great storm right now. I've mentioned a couple of huge things that are up for us. I'm not going to dig into global warming and any of the other huge challenges that we face as a civilization. What I do want to move into is that even though the challenges seem impossible, nothing is impossible in the mind of God. There are gifts in all of the events that we perceive as so destructive. Sometimes it just takes a while to see them. Sometimes we don't see the gifts until many years have passed and we look back and we can see the overall picture of how things have transformed and changed. So we can't always see them when we're in the middle of the transformation. Just like a butterfly in a cocoon, we cannot see that even though we appear to be dying, our current form is dissolving into goo. We are going through a death to what we have known, what we have been, and what we have experienced. At the same time, we are actually being reborn into a new paradigm, a new way of living, a new way of relating. And if we don't give up, we will regain our will to emerge. We will exert the energy that it takes to rise to the challenge and break through the cocoon at just the right time. We will fly and we will be so beautiful. It takes time, it takes dedication. It takes discipline. It takes self-love. It takes faith, and we have all of that. It's hardwired into our souls. And we want that transformation, right? I mean, is there anyone here that wants to remain as a caterpillar? Anyone who doesn't want to go through all that goo to get to the good stuff? Anyone here? George Carlin said, "The caterpillar does all the work, but the butterfly gets all the publicity." So just do the work, get through the goo, and emerge as the royalty that you are. Fly, my friends, and be beautiful. Are you ready? Are you ready to be a butterfly? Let's talk about what it's going to take to get there. It's going to take discipline, dedication, focus, and faith. In order to change the world, or at least our experience of the world, we must first change ourselves. We must be the change we wish to see in the world, as Gandhi said. If we want to change ourselves, if we want to evolve, we need to know where we are. You know, like the maps in the theme parks or at the malls, that the one that says, "You are here." We need to know ourselves deeply and accurately. We need to know where we are. We need to have ways to look for and detect our blind spots. We need to notice when things that we are doing, the ways that we are interacting with people and with our world, are working and when they're not working. We need to know how we affect people and how we affect our environment so we can make adjustments to our own behaviors. We need to be around people that stretch us, that are good mirrors for us, so that we notice things like when we come away from a conversation feeling awkward because it didn't go as smoothly as we had hoped. And upon further examination, or after doing some journaling about it or meditating on it, we find out that we have some places in our communication, in our behavior, that could use some adjustment. It's a very uncomfortable place to be in. The good news is, if we can catch it, if we can feel it, if we can see it, then we can heal it. We can do better next time. I grew up learning that it was rude and nosy to ask people too many questions or anything personal. And I would usually wait for them to tell me whatever they wanted me to know or hear. I'm finding out that some people will not participate fully in a conversation unless you draw them into it with questions about themselves and about their lives. And that they might not think that you care about them. They might not think that you're interested in them unless you ask them about themselves. Unfortunately, I did not know this, partly because of my conditioning, partly because I connect with people on an energetic level, and that's how I get to know people initially. And so I learn about them in many other ways other than communication verbally. So I don't always ask questions and learn about their history, their experiences, the stories they tell, the roles they play in life. Connecting in the way that I connect helps me to know a person in one way, but connecting fully with them through conversation is a whole nother way to connect with them, and it's also very important. And I have failed to connect in that way sometimes with my friends and family over my lifetime. I have left so many conversations feeling like they were one-sided about myself because I've been around people who are actually really good at asking me questions. And so I'm so absorbed in trying to answer all of their questions and be accurate about the story that I'm telling and, give them the information that they've asked for. I become so absorbed in that and in my own story, in myself, that I leave the conversation feeling disappointed in myself for not giving the other person more space to engage, and completely unsatisfied because I didn't get to hear much about the other person. And I really do care about them and I find them interesting and I want to hear all of their stories. So to tackle this issue, I had to make a strategy for myself to prepare follow-up questions on something that they mentioned during a previous conversation or during the last conversation. So I would think about some things that were kind of left hanging and come back with those questions. Or I would think about questions that would give me the ability to open a conversation up with them so that I can learn more about them in general. So I would be ready for the next conversation and I would spring the questions on them first before they started asking me questions and getting me started. I'm going to start asking them questions first. So I'd be all prepared. And I would allow plenty of time for their responses. And I would come away from those conversations feeling deeply satisfied and just, feeling like a much better friend for them. And I remember when I'm asking my questions that they might not always feel comfortable answering some of them. Just like I'm not always ready to answer other people's questions or even willing sometimes to answer certain questions. It's okay. I don't have to feel offended by it. I don't have to take it personally. I don't have to feel rejected about it. I can just move on and I don't have to pull back and stop asking questions completely. I can just move on and talk about a different subject. Let go of that question. This all may seem to you like an obvious element of being in conversation and relationship with people, having mature adult conversations, but it just wasn't in my awareness until it was. I figured it out by self-study or self-inquiry, by being present with my discomfort, by journaling, by getting feedback from people who are really close to me and safe to discuss my tender issues with. And my little issue also helped some of my friends too, because I was able to mirror for them. I was able to be that mirror so that they could identify that they had the same issue too in conversations, some of my friends. So in our vulnerability, we give each other permission to look at ourselves. In our vulnerability, we give our friends permission to look at themselves and to learn. And the funny thing is that I never noticed that these friends had this issue. I never noticed it at all because some people that you are friends with and that you hang out with, the conversation just goes back and forth and people just jump in and start sharing stuff and they're just, more assertive with their stories, right? And so you might never notice or need to ask so many questions, but there are some people who are very polite and very present for you, and they will just continue to ask you questions about yourself until you start asking them questions about themselves. And that's where I need to be more conscious because those are some really awesome people too, and I want to get to know them too. I did beat up on myself about it for being a horrible and selfish friend. So I had to do forgiveness work. Thank you, John, again for that song today. I had to forgive me. I had to use prayer and affirmation and visioning work to support my journey and healing in this. And to be honest, I'm still working on this and getting better and better at it all the time. And some days are better than others. So when something in my life is not going smoothly, I ask myself what my part is in it. And how can I bring more balance, more presence, more joy, more love to the situation? In recent years, I have experienced a lot of loss. And many people around me have too. I mean, who hasn't experienced a lot of loss lately? Really big stuff sometimes. And during a meditative session with my sister that we did several months ago, we were intuitively guided to this concept that we call the abyss of unknowing. We use this phrase regularly to pull each other back into the present. We do need to heal things that happened to us in our past, and we need to plan for our futures. But many of us spend way too much time in the past, and we end up sinking into regret and despair, or we go too far into the future where we can end up in a place of fear and anxiety about what we hope will happen or what we hope will not happen. So in the abyss of unknowing, we are showing up and we are gazing into this endless space of the unknown and allowing for the emergence of opportunities, for the emergence of new information, for visions to reveal themselves in a way that is not controlled by our in-the-box thinking, by all of the thoughts that we've already had before, by all of our experiences that we've had before. We're having a new thought. What a concept, right? New thought. We're having a new thought. So we allow our angels, our guides, infinite possibility, God, spirit, however you want to experience the infinite mind, the cosmic consciousness, the creative force. We allow them to deliver something greater than what we could ever come up with on our own with our limited human thinking. We wait, we listen with curiosity and expectancy for something interesting and amazing to happen. I now have this practice that I absolutely love doing. When I leave the house for the day, the only goal that I have is to dive into the abyss of unknowing and to be fully present for whatever shows up in my path. Everything, every person, every event that unfolds becomes a part of the journey, and I am fully present in each moment with all that arises. Stepping out with no expectation brings me gifts I would never experience if I had planned everything out. Some of my recent experiences include being treated to coffee by a homeless man and sitting with him, getting to know him and enjoying sweet conversations. Driving down the roads that I have never been down before, only to discover beautiful places that I've never seen before. Being present for wild animals and birds that show up to bring messages of joy and love. Meeting and making friends with new people wherever I go. Seeing signs and experiencing synchronicities and serendipitous events that are faith building, that tell me that I'm heading in the right direction, doing the right thing, and that my intuition is working. And it makes me feel so alive that I'm engaging in the world and not sleepwalking through my day, doing the same old thing, the same old thoughts over and over again, like that movie Groundhog Day. Same day over and over again. One of my favorite books to just randomly open and read from is Outrageous Openness by Tasha Silver. It's this book right here. And last night, when I got to this exact point in writing my talk right here, no more, I opened this book randomly and turned to page 58 and to a selection called Opening to the Yes. And it couldn't be more perfect for what we're talking about right now. So I'm going to read this to you now so that you can enjoy it with me. There are two quotes to begin this, this selection. One is by Stephen Dunn. Yes, there is another world. This is it. And then one from Becky Sharp of Vanity Fair. Life can be so unpredictable. Well, I certainly hope so. So here's the reading. When a problem has existed for a long time, it can feel permanent. The critical, judgmental mind has trouble imagining anything could dissolve such a seemingly entrenched state. But if you're open, sudden change can happen at any time. My friend Triana went to a psychic. During her own reading, I somehow came up in the cards. The reader predicted I would soon be writing a lot, finding tremendous happiness in this way. At the time, I found this hilarious. My first thought was, writing what? My grocery list? My movie queue for Netflix? I might as well have been told I was about to become the new ambassador of Fiji. Ironically, I'd been dealing with writer's block since college a few decades back. While I periodically scribbled random perceptions on various things, nothing ever came together. I would throw the ADD blizzard of notes that blanketed my desk into an envelope for a vague and let me read that again. I would throw the ADD blizzard of notes that blanketed my desk into an envelope for a vague and ephemeral future. That's a tongue twister for me. I would stick one more semi-legible, chaotic, and rambling journal into my hall closet next to the fuzzy wool blanket where the cats often slept. Whenever I traveled, I would type long, detailed emails to my closest companions. They would always say, why don't you start a blog or create some articles or write a book? Why don't you share all of this? But I never did. It seemed completely overwhelming. Even corralling the batch of travel letters into publishable articles felt like herding a band of marauding snakes. So when Triana arrived with her reader's prediction, what could I do but shrug my shoulders and laugh? We'll see, I said. It'll definitely take a miracle. A miracle. Suddenly, I realized I had never called in the divine on this topic. Though I certainly knew better, once again, I'd been unconsciously relying on my own limited strength, a guaranteed way to keep things stuck. So I prayed that divine order come into my writing. I asked that if I could be of service and if this be God's will, that the perfect chances would arrive to pulverize that damn writer's block and once and for all. I insisted that the perfect route was already selected. I was ready for the miracle and so willing to be surprised. 3 months later, I was searching online for an astrology article that had run on examiner.com. I noticed that they were hiring writers. I casually applied. Soon, I was on an unforeseen wild bobsled run of writing, still catapulting madly around the curves and down the ice. Some obvious things you just can't see coming, no matter what you think you know. It's so fun to read this right now. It reminds me to be open to the unknown, to greater possibilities, to the seemingly impossible, to trust spirit, to trust that spirit is greater than any limitation and can make anything happen. I just need to ask for help. I just need to use the amazing tools that we have. I just need to allow the co-creation process to happen. The co-creation process is about aligning with the truth, developing clear vision, and taking action on that vision. A lot of folks miss the boat on how the law of attraction works, how magnetism and manifesting works. We're not just dreaming and making vision boards. We are aligning with cosmic consciousness. We are seeing opportunities arise with our clear vision, and we are taking actions on them. If we don't see the opportunities right away, we can still take little actions every day towards our vision. The opportunities are always there. We just need to learn how to see them. Or we need to create some movement in our lives so that they will become more visible. Sometimes that movement is just about clearing out the old so that the new has a space to be seen. So stepping up is really about aligning our consciousness with spirit, with the infinite intelligence. And stepping out is about taking action and showing up in all our glory, all of our glory, with all of our sparkles and our butterfly wings, our crowns and our sovereignty. We are magical creatures in a magical world, doing magical good work and receiving magical gifts and blessings abundantly. Stay curious, stay present, stay open, live well, fully awake, and remember the abyss of unknowing. What amazing good things can possibly happen today? What amazing good things can happen? Let's be present and find out. Take a deep breath and let us pray. So just breathing in and allowing the breath to bring us fully present to this moment, to this place, to this time, to this space, to this one life, one presence, one God, one power, one beautiful infinite intelligence that is in and through all that is in the seen and in the unseen. And it is right here, right now in each one of us. It is in our beautiful music minister, John Steiner. It is in our beautiful licensed practitioner, Betty Burr. It is in each one here tuned in on Facebook Live. It is in all of the people who couldn't tune in today. It is in all of our neighbors, our friends, our family, everyone across the world, all sentient beings. It is in all objects, all things living and all things not looking like they're living. They're still infused with divine spirit. Everything is God. It's all God. And so I speak my word today. I am not concerned about what happened yesterday. I know that today everything is made new. I let go of all sense of limitation. I divorce my thought from any belief in lack. I repudiate the idea that I am poor, weak, sick, or unhappy. New conditions are being created for me, conditions of harmony, happiness, peace, and joy. All circumstances and situations are being harmonized. Wherever I go, I shall meet peace, joy, and happiness. Whatever I do shall be done with reason and intelligence. I shall be surrounded by friendship, by beauty, by right action. My whole being responds to this conviction simply with complete conviction. I accept my freedom. I accept my magic. I accept my butterfly wings. And I give great thanks. I give great thanks for this awareness and consciousness, for this knowing, for life itself. And I release this word into the law of mind that only knows yes. It is done as you say. It is done as you believe. It is already done. And together we say, and so it is.